The first vibration of my phone cut through the soft music drifting in my flower shop, and for a moment I thought it was just another customer order. The morning light poured through the windows, catching on the petals I'd been trimming, making the whole place glow in warm shades of pink. I loved moments like this, quiet, gentle, peaceful. But the message I read shattered all of that calm in an instant. You're not invited to Emma's wedding, that was all David wrote. No greeting. No explanation. Just that sharp, cold line followed by another blow. We don't want you ruining her special day. My fingers trembled so hard. I nearly dropped the blush pink roses I had spent hours preparing. These were the exact roses I'd chosen months ago for the bouquet my daughter dreamed of since childhood. They were lovely, soft, delicate, innocent. So different from the cruelty in David's message. My name is Olivia Walker. And at 45, I never imagined I would live to see a day where my only child's wedding would go on without me. Not after I had quietly spent half a year making sure every tiny piece of it matched the dream she'd carried in her heart since she was a little girl, sitting beside me in this very shop. I sank into my workbench chair, surrounded by the sweet perfume of flowers and old memories that suddenly felt too heavy for my chest. Emma practically grew up in this place. She would sit at this same wooden bench doing her homework while I arranged bouquets, her feet swinging beneath the chair, her small voice describing every detail of the wedding she hoped to have someday. The flowers, the colors, the dress, even the exact venue. "Mom, when I get married, I want peonies and roses everywhere," she used to say, her eyes sparkling like sunlight on glass. "And it has to be at River Oak Gardens. Promise we'll make it perfect." And I promised. I always promised, but that was before everything changed. Before David walked out on us for his 28-year-old secretary. Before he twisted the truth of our broken marriage into a story where he was the wounded hero and I was the unstable, controlling wife who pushed him away. Before he filled Emma's young mind with so many lies that she eventually stopped believing anything I said. Now, 8 years later, his new wife Jessica was proudly stepping into my place as mother of the bride, while I, the woman who raised Emma, who loved her, who remembered every childhood dream, was being pushed out like a stranger. My phone buzzed again. "This is for the best," David wrote. "Emma doesn't need the drama. Jessica's already handled all the arrangements anyway." A breath escaped my lips, half laugh, half sigh. Oh, David. If only he knew. 6 months earlier, when Emma told us she was engaged, I knew David would try to take control of the wedding. He always cared more about appearing successful than actually being responsible. And after becoming CEO, his obsession with image had only grown stronger. But beneath that expensive suit and polished smile was a secret he prayed no one would uncover: his gambling problem, the one that had finally caught up with him, the one eating his company from the inside. He didn't have the money to pay for the wedding he bragged about, but I did, quietly, carefully. I reached out to an old family friend, Mr. Chin, Emma's godfather. He had deep connections to River Oak Gardens. "The premier package," he said warmly when I explained everything. "For Emma? Of course. And don't worry, Olivia. I'll make sure all communication stays between us." The venue was only the first step. After that, I contacted every vendor myself: caterers, musicians, decorators, designers, keeping my name hidden while allowing Jessica to believe she was the mastermind behind it all. The flowers, of course, came from my own shop, though I arranged for another florist to deliver them so they wouldn't trace back to me. The cake, the lighting, the music playlists, each detail came straight from Emma's childhood wishes. Everything she had whispered to me over the years. Jessica was proudly planning a wedding that had already been completely designed, paid for, and organized by me. Every time she bragged about a decision she made, she was simply choosing from options I had quietly arranged months before. Another message: "Jessica's father is walking her down the aisle. Please respect our wishes and stay away." I set the phone aside and walked to the back of the shop, where a special cooler held the most important piece of the day, the bridal bouquet I'd poured my heart into. Blush roses, soft white peonies, and tiny sprigs of baby's breath, exactly what Emma had asked for at 12 years old. The ribbon around the handle held tiny pearls from my own wedding dress. Pieces of family history woven into something new. Something hers. I had just closed the cooler when the door chime rang. Mr. Chin hurried in. Worry etched across his face. "Olivia," he said, voice tight. "I heard from David's secretary." "Is it true?" I showed him the message. His expression darkened. "After everything you've done. He banned you from the wedding? Does he even realize?" "No," I said softly. "And for now, that's exactly how it needs to be." He sank into the consultation chair, rubbing his forehead. "The vendors are asking about final payments. Everything is due by next week." "The money's already in escrow," I assured him. "Everything will be paid on time. David and Jessica won't have to worry." "And Emma?" he asked gently. "Does she know any of this?" I shook my head as tears burned behind my eyes. "She thinks I abandoned her, just like David told her. If she knew I was planning the wedding, she would change everything just to hurt me. I don't want that." Mr. Chin squeezed my hand, his eyes filled with sadness. "You're a better woman than they deserve." "Maybe," I whispered, glancing at the wedding timeline pinned to my bulletin board. "But I made a promise to my little girl when she was 12, and I intend to keep it." My phone buzzed again, Jessica this time. I'd handled everything perfectly. "Emma will have the wedding she always wanted." "No thanks to you. I couldn't hold it anymore." I let out a small laugh. "Well," I told Mr. Chin, "she's not wrong about that second part." The wedding was only 3 days away. David and Jessica were blissfully unaware that their perfect, flawless plan was mine. Completely mine. Paid with savings from 10 years of running this flower shop. Filled with small touches they didn't even know existed. They thought they were shutting me out. But I already knew. I would be there anyway. In every flower, in every detail, in every piece of the wedding Emma once dreamed of with me by her side. I picked up my phone and typed a short reply to David. "Don't worry. Everything will be perfect." And for once I truly knew how right I was the day before the wedding arrived. And from my shop window I watched Jessica supervise the loading of her floral arrangements into the delivery van. She stood in her expensive outfit, tapping a pen against her clipboard as if she were directing some grand film production. "The roses look a bit sparse," she complained sharply to the delivery driver. The driver was actually my assistant, Mike, disguised in a borrowed uniform. He shot me a quick wink through the glass. "They'll open beautifully by tomorrow morning, ma'am," he said with a polite nod. The florist guaranteed it. Of course they would. I'd trained Mike myself for 15 years. He knew exactly how to time each bloom, so that when Emma stepped into the aisle, every flower would be at its most breathtaking moment. My phone buzzed with a message from Mr. Chin. "David just tried to put a down payment on the venue again." That made me smile. I could almost see David's stunned face when River Oak Gardens refused. He believed his CEO title would bend any rule he wanted. "But I had paid the full amount months ago. How did he take it?" I texted back. A second later the reply came. "Not well. Jessica is furious about dipping into their emergency fund." A pang of guilt hit me, but it faded just as quickly. This wasn't about punishing them. This was about giving Emma the day she always wanted. Just then, I saw Emma walk past my shop. My whole body froze. She paused at the window, eyes flicking over the display of roses. For a moment I hoped she might come inside. But she didn't. It had been months since she last spoke to me. Not since that painful dinner where David announced loudly that he would pay for everything, a father's gift to his daughter,
he'd said,
puffing out his chest. Emma had turned to me with a cold, dismissive look. "Well, it's not like you could help anyway. Mom, you're just a florist." Those words stung more deeply than she ever knew. But watching her walk past my shop now, not even glancing inside again, hurt even more. My phone rang. The wedding coordinator someone hired quietly through Mr. Chin, Mrs. Walker. "We have a problem. The groom's mother wants to rearrange the seating chart. She says Mr. Harrison's requests don't make sense." I closed my eyes, rubbing the bridge of my nose. Of course Jessica would meddle at the last minute. She had no idea the seating chart had been carefully planned based on years of family tension and alliances. Who disliked whom? Which relatives needed distance? Which friends deserved honor? Let her change whatever she wants, I said softly. But keep the original chart. Trust me, by tomorrow she understand why it was arranged that way. After hanging up, I returned to the back room to check on Emma's bouquet again. I added one final detail, a tiny locket tucked into the ribbon, with a photo of her grandmother inside. My mother. Emma probably wouldn't notice it, but it mattered to me. A quiet reminder that family, real family, stays close even when pushed away. The hours slipped by in a rush after that. One issue after another. One emergency replaced by the next. Yet every detail still fell into place exactly how it needed to. And finally, the day eased into its last stretch, and all I could think was how much I wished Emma knew. How much she understood. How much I still loved her, but none of that mattered in the moment. What mattered was finishing what I started. And so the rest of the day passed in a blur of last-minute details. Every few hours brought a new crisis that I had to solve from behind the scenes. Jessica wanted to change the menu. David complained a booth music selection the groom's mother threatened to move the ceremony indoors despite the perfect weather forecast through it all. I kept remembering MA12 sitting at my workbench planning her perfect day. Promise it'd be just like if his mom. She said, promise you'll make it magical. At sunset I drove to River Oak Gardens to do one final check. The staff knew the truth about who was really in charge. Let me slip in through these revice entrance. The garden waste transforming exactly as I'd envisioned it. Winkling lights strung through the trees, flowers arranged to create natural azels, every detail perfect. The father of the bride was here earlier, one of the staff whispered, trying to upgrade to champagne. He hasn't paid for. I nodded, unsurprised. The premium champagne will be delivered at 9 meters, I said, but don't tell them that. Let them think their complaints made it happen. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in one of the venue's windows. I looked tired but calm. Tomorrow my daughter would have the wedding of her dreams, even if she never knew I was Theon who made it happen. My phone buzzed only last time as I got into my car. A message from Emma. Mom, I know you were probably upset about not being invited, but Jessica has made everything so perfect. Maybe if you had put in the skin of effort when I was growing up, things would be different. I started Decker, letting the tears I've been holding back all day finally fall. Part of me wanted to tell her everything about the months of planning, the careful coordination, the savings I'd spent to make her dreams come true, but I didn't. Instead, I tagged back, I hope your day is everything you've ever wanted, sweetened. I knew it would be, because I had promised the morning of the wedding dawn exactly as I'd hoped. Clear skies with a gentle breeze, perfect for carrying the scent of roses through the garden. I watched the final preparation through the security cameras Mr. Chen had arranged for me to access. Everything was falling into place. Jessica was already having her meltdown right on schedule. The premium champagne delivery had sent her into a confusion spiral, but wouldn't pay for this upgrade. She kept telling the staff there must be some mistake. David was no better, pacing the grounds in his tuxedo, making frantic calls about the string core that had mysteriously been upgraded to include a harpist. Emma's Child, the Dream Edition, that he deemed too expensive. Then I saw her. Emma stepped out of the bridal soutane, her dress, and my heart stopped. Shua's beautiful, radiant, exactly as I'd always imagined she would be. The bouquet I crafted was perfect in her hands. The roses opened exactly as planned through the camera feed. I watched her touch the pearls woven into the ribbon, a puzzled expression crossing her face. My phone buzzed. Mr. Chin, it's time. I took a deep breath and pressed play on the video. It prepared weeks ago. Within seconds, the large screen set up for the reception flicked to life across the venue. David and Jessica froze, staring at the imageno playing. It was Emma at 12, sitting at me workbench, describing her dream wedding. Mom, promise it'd be just like Fisher. Young voice echoed through the garden, the pink roses, the pearls. The harassed playing canon indie. The video continued, showing snippet after snippet I filmed over the years. Emma planning every detail of her future wedding while arranging flowers with me in the shop. Each element she described matched exactly what was now set up around them. Jessica's clipboard clattered to the ground. David's face had gone pale, but I was watching. Emma, who stood transfixed, looking from the video to her bouquet, finally noticing her grandmother's locket tucked among the roses. Her hands were shaking as she opened it, finding the photo inside and the tiny note I tucked behind. It promised to make it perfect. Love, Mom. Through the camera feed, I saw the exact moment. Understanding dawning her eyes, she looked around at everything: the flowers, the lights, the precise arrangement she described as a child. Andy saw her begin to cry. "Where's my mother?" I heard her ask through the audio feed. "Where's Mom?" David stepped forward, his face a mask of forced calm. "Emma, sweetheart, let's not get distracted." Jessica arranged everything. "No, Emma," cut him off, her voice strong and clear. "No more lies. Dad, these are Mom's roses. This is her work. I'd know it anywhere." She held up the bouquet. "No one else would know to weave pearls into the ribbon. One else would remember the exact shade of pink I wanted." She turned to Jessica, who was stammering about contracts and vendors. "You didn't plan this wedding, did you, before?" Jessica responded. Mr. Chun stepped forward. "Nosh. Didn't your mother did every detail, every element, exactly as you dreamed. Ich pay for everything months ago." The garden fell silent except for the gentle music of the harpist still playing Canon ND, just as 12-year-old Emma had requested. The video of still playing on screens. Why? Emma's voice broke. "Why would she do all this and not tell me?" I stepped out from behind the garden trolls, "Where I've been watching Backfired. Deserve your perfect day," I said softly, whether I was here or not. Emma turned, tears streaming down her face. For a moment we just looked at each other, then she ran to me, throwing her arms around me like she used to when she was small. "I'm so sorry, Mom," she whispered, "for everything." I held her close, careful not to wrinkle her dress. "Don't be, sweetheart, just be happy, that's all I ever wanted." She pulled back, wiping her eyes carefully to preserve her makeup. "Will you walk me down the aisle, please?" I looked at David, who stood deflated but silent, and Jessica, who had finally run out of protest. Then I looked at my daughter, who was smiling at me with some trust I remember from all those years in the flower shop. "Of course," I said, "I promised to make this day perfect." And as we took our places for the ceremony, I caught Mr. Chun's eye. He was grinning as he turned off the video screens. Their job done. The truth was out and my daughter was back in my arms. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about keeping your promises, even when no one expects you to, even when no one knows you are doing it. I have promised my daughter a perfect wedding, and that's exactly what she got. The fact that I'd exposed years of lies and manipulation was just a bonus that smelled like perfectly bloomed roses.